Howdy, folks, and welcome to the Daily Coin. My name is Rory, and today is Wednesday, November the 18th, 2015. And just a quick note, this is the first interview that I've conducted since the Paris attacks, and I wanted to send my thoughts and prayers out to the families that were affected by this horrific tragedy. We are all following every angle of this situation as it continues to unfold, and you'll find tons of updates at thedailycoin.org. I have the great honor and pleasure of speaking with Mr. Brien Lundin, and he is the director and producer of the New Orleans Investment Conference that I recently attended, and that is operated through Jefferson Financial, the Jefferson Companies. And as a lot of you know, I was able to conduct several interviews while in attendance. And the interview with Bill Murphy, Gaddis chairman and publisher of La Metropole Cafe newsletter, created several questions around one piece of information. And that is the reason for speaking with Mr. Lundin today. He is the chairman and director of Natcore Technology, and you can find them at natcoresolar.com. And Natcore Solar does not make solar panels, but are introducing technology that may change the solar industry and have an impact on the silver market. And I'd like to welcome you, Mr. Brien Lundin. How are you today?
I'm just fine, Rory. Great to be with you.
Well, I'm really glad that you're taking a few minutes out of your day to discuss this, and I just want to jump right in. And Natcore has developed technology that may replace silver in solar panels with aluminum. And how does this technology work, and what impact will it have on the silver market?
Well, I'm limited in talking about how it works by both my technical knowledge and ability, as well as our desire to protect the intellectual property to some extent, although patents have been filed, and we have a good feeling that every aspect of it is protected. Okay. But speaking more generally, what we've been able to do is use lasers to make a very highly efficient and ultra efficient solar cell structure easily manufacturable. Just backing up a bit, the world record for efficiency of a silicon solar cell was set by Panasonic and Sanyo with a cell that reached 26.5% efficiency, and that's the record. And no other cell has come close to that. But that cell structure is extremely expensive to manufacture, and it's actually never been put into mass manufacturing because of that. It's a very complicated structure. The production process is convoluted, and there really wasn't a whole lot of hope that it could be mass manufactured. Well, I say we, but our scientists operating at our lab in Rochester, New York, were able to use lasers to greatly simplify that process. And in fact, in the meantime, they also came upon an idea, another version of that structure, a kind of a takeoff on that structure, that basic structure that would be very easy to manufacture using lasers. Then once we were able to do that, they got to thinking with some of the scientists on our advisory panel, which are really among the leading experts in the world. And they said, well, you can replace silver very easily now with a cheaper metal, and the cheapest one out there to use is aluminum. And this has never been possible before because of the very special attributes that silver offers. And I know that there's a bit of a concern in the industry or among gold bugs and silver bugs that this new technology will destroy an important source of demand for silver. But as a silver bug myself, I have to tell you that the properties of silver are so special and unique that I'm very confident that the industrial uses for the metal will continue to grow going forward. It's been very difficult to replace them in solar cells, but NatCore has found a way to do it.
That's great. I mean, and I would agree wholeheartedly that the properties of silver and the uses for silver are going to continue to grow. They're just now beginning to tap into the biosilver, if you will, or the biocide aspect of silver.
Oh yeah.
Just that one avenue, I believe, will completely take over any void that's left by the solar industry. If in fact what you guys are doing at Natcore are, if you're able to accomplish this, and heard a lot about was that the technology wasn't actually in place. Is that right? I mean,
That's true. It's still a bit off into the future. We have to refine the process. We have to get the efficiencies of our uh, first and second generation cells up a bit more. But one of the key aspects is that of NACCOR in particular is that once we are able to do that, then things will move fairly quickly because our model, our business model, is not to manufacture solar cells because that's a business where the margins are collapsing, where it's kind of a dog eat dog commoditized world. What we're going to do is license our technology plus the equipment and the materials necessary to make these cells to any and all comers. So we don't really care who the winner is going to be in the solar cell market because we're confident that we're going to be selling to those winners. So we'll ramp up fairly quickly, and you'll have many companies working to implement this technology. So it will ramp up fairly quickly once we're able to get to that stage, we expect to happen over the coming year.
and I'm sure that you're familiar with, I would think you would be, with the solar programs that China and India have in place right now. And China has vowed and is probably going to exceed the 100 gigawatts by
Mhm.
2020. And
Yeah.
India has implemented a very similar program, and China is actually, I've got a great contact in Beijing, and he has done some unbelievable research to discover that China has actually been importing uh, quite a bit of the silver ore and refining it down themselves.
hmm
And do you guys see what you're doing impacting that aspect? I mean, is that something that you guys are going after, or how is what you're doing going to play into what's happening there with those two gigantic programs?
Well, China in particular is a market that you can't ignore if you're a solar technology company like we are. China is not only the largest producer of solar cells, but they're also the largest consumer and growing in both aspects. But an interesting thing has happened over the last year or two in that China has started to roll back its subsidies of its solar cell companies. There are some hundreds of companies that are now being consolidated, and the vast majority of them have been cut off from any support from the government. It's just gotten too expensive for China to subsidize those companies in their previous plan to try and establish or grab global market share. So what's happening now is that companies need technology even more so. They cannot lower production costs and deliver suboptimal solar cells and grab market share. They have to have highest efficiency cells, and the economics of solar are such that efficiency beats everything else. You can only get so low on your production costs, and then you really get the big advantages by increasing efficiencies. And that's the sweet spot that we're going to be in. And as I said before, we're going to be licensing the technology. We have talked to a number of large Chinese firms and actually have some agreements with Chinese firms in place. So we're on the verge of commercializing not only a technology but locking up licensing agreements that will provide substantial revenue to NATCOR.
I may be about to make a lot of people angry, but I'm very excited about what you guys are doing.
Well, I think that NATCOR offers silver investors, and silver bugs, almost by definition, are looking for a more of a kick to rising precious metals prices. They're more speculative than gold bugs, as it were. And NATCOR, I think, is a kind of a speculative investment that allows them to get those kinds of gains that they were hoping for. Because if we're able to do what we think we're able to do, then the potential is really as good or greater than anyone could imagine from silver itself.
I would agree with that wholeheartedly. I mean, I think that what's going to happen once again is that you guys are actually, once this gets into place, and it sounds like you're very close to getting everything refined and down to where it needs to be in order to roll it out. Within, I'm just going to throw it out there. I don't know that this is true, and you may be able to help me with that, but it sounds like maybe 2 to 3 years, and you guys will be up and running full steam ahead with it. Is that about right?
Yeah, I would think so. If not well before then.
Okay, so as you are well aware, Brien, right now, I mean, we've got mines that are shutting down. We've got mines that are slowing down. All of the low-hanging fruit is gone. These guys are high grading their mines right now because of the pricing. So I've been asking this question for at least 2.5 years. I mean, where is the silver going to come from in the future? So if we've got all of these mines that are in distress right now, that's only going to help if you free up some of that silver supply. I mean, because the bio side is not going to go away. They're not going to be able to change that. They're not going to be able to replace that, such as what you are proposing in the solar industry. Period. They can't do that.
Right.
It won't work. So they're going to need it.
Yeah, and the whole story for silver is and always will be monetary demand. In my opinion, I'm a big gold bug and silver bug, and of course have been for decades. But in my experience and in my opinion, any silver price above, say, $8, $9, $10 an ounce, all of that's monetary demand, and that's what creates a silver price where we are today or much higher. Is demand for it for monetary reasons. The industrial demand for silver really is, because it's such of a byproduct of other metals production, right. It gets a lot more complicated, and industrial demand can never drive, in my opinion, silver prices up to the levels that we're all expecting.
And I certainly, as a silver bug and a gold bug myself, I'm expecting things to go a lot higher. I'm expecting those exchange rates to be more reflective of where they should be, in my opinion.
And that's the exciting part of the story, is that the monetary factors will drive silver to far higher levels than it's ever been, not just in nominal terms, but in real terms. And that's the exciting part for us as silver investors.
Exactly. And is there anything that we need to know about NATCOR and what you guys are doing that you can share that we haven't covered already?
One of the interesting things, I should have mentioned it, but high efficiency is a big winner, because we're aiming to get low cost or very affordable cells that produce well over 20% efficiency. And our research from our scientists show that getting a cell over 20%, and one that can be widely installed at a very affordable cost, if you can get it over 20%, that means that you can take the average home in North America completely off the grid. That's factoring in the average roof area, the average latitude, sunshine, all of those things. There's a lot of variables involved, but it has to be over 20% before you really take most homes in North America and give them the capability of being completely energy independent.
And if that, with the technology that you guys are developing and bringing the cost down, I presume that those cost savings will eventually be.
Yeah, yeah, it's a kind of a thing where, you may want to stay hooked up to the grid, you may want to sell some power back, but you know, in combination with battery installations like Tesla is producing,
Yep.
it would be at a cost. It may not be cheaper than staying hooked up to the grid, but at some affordable cost, you'll be able to be completely independent and never have to worry about what happens outside your home.
Well, I'm presuming that if one of the more costly components of a solar panel drops by 30 or 40%, then that has to translate in a drop in the retail price.
Yes, absolutely, and more importantly, yeah, and then it all factors into your cost per watt. And there's, we don't have it refined enough to get it down to a couple of decimal points or even very exact at all. But our kind of wet finger in the wind estimations are that we would be able to deliver more than a 30% benefit to cost per watt. And these companies right now are killing themselves for fractions of a single percentage of improvement in cost per watt. And they actually figure they have to get 0.6% of an improvement in cost per watt annually, or they're out of business.
Wow.
So when we come up with a solution that gives them 30% or more advantage in cost per watt, they're forced with the decision to either adopt our technology or go out of business, because their competitors will adopt the technology.
That's exactly right. And because, once again, they'll be able to push more product, because that product will, I mean, if it comes down 15%, 20%, I mean, that's going to be a huge impact on who is actually able to afford it and who is actually able to bring it online in their life.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I mean, that's wow. That's very exciting. That is very, very exciting right there, Brien. Seriously.
We're trying to get the story out. We're at a very low level in the share price, and we've been pretty volatile. So anybody who's ever bought the company at around these levels has subsequently had the opportunity to triple their money or more. And we feel where we're going from here on out, we'll be able to do that. Go to the website, sign up for NatCore's contact list for more information, and watch the news flow. It's listed on the Toronto Venture Exchange. The symbol is NXT, and we're also listed on the OTCQX exchange in the US. So go to the site, NatCore, NATCORE, solar.com, and learn more about us. And we're always ready to answer questions, but it's a very exciting point in the company's evolution.
I would agree wholeheartedly, and I'll provide links in the description box below the video for all this, so that you guys will be able to easily get to it and sign up for it and find out a little bit more about what's going on. And I want to change gears I'm not going to take up much more of your time, Brien, but I do have a couple other questions away from this. And as the director, producer of the New Orleans Investment Conference, what was your biggest takeaway from this year's show?
I think I was most impressed. I mean, I'm always impressed every year. We set the bar so high, and then the actual event seems to exceed it every year. But I was very impressed by the excitement of the attendees and the interest of the attendees in actually buying at this bottom. I kind of set it up in my pre-conference communications and opening remarks that this is an opportunity for precious metals investors and resource stock investors of the kind that only comes 2 or 3 times in our investing career. Really a major long-term bottom in such a cyclical market. And we've seen over and over again over the years that in a rebound from these lows, the average stock, for example, the average index rises 4 or 5 times over, and the real winners among those will rise 10, 20 or more times over. And that's the kind of opportunity we have right now for people who have the cash and the courage to invest at these low levels and have and are patient, willing to wait a couple of years if it takes that.
Yeah, courage and patience
Mm-hmm.
are the two main ingredients in what you were just describing. But I couldn't agree more. Like I said, we were just discussing how distressed the mining industry as a whole is right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's not gonna stay that way. It's not going to.
It can't. The cure
It
for low
can't.
prices, of course, is low prices.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly right. And what what has you the most concerned right now? What is your biggest concern?
For the metals or
Just
for
in general. I mean, what bothers you, or what are you keeping an eye on as far as either global or national or even local events? I mean, as far as things that really have your attention.
well, I think looking at longer term, and of course, there are a lot of issues as we saw in Paris that are cropping up, and there's these black swan events that can move the markets and aren't really in anyone's plans or expectations. But one thing we really can be assured of, because it's a simple mathematical exercise, is the danger of the debt loads that not only the U.S. but the entire Western economies or free world, developed world have built up. And there's no way to address those kinds of debts without some debasement of the currencies. And I think that bigger picture is why we're all invested in gold and silver and the associated investments, because it seems irrefutable and inevitable that there will be substantial debasement of fiat currencies, and people simply have to protect themselves for that. It's not just a matter of looking for profits in that situation, but you absolutely have to protect yourselves.
And Jefferson Companies or Jefferson Financial, your companies don't sell gold or silver. Is that right?
Correct. We don't sell the metal
Right.
itself. We publish gold newsletter and have the New Orleans Investment Conference and do special reports. And I also have a free e-letter that we publish called Golden Opportunities. And anyone can go to our website at goldnewsletter.com and sign up for that and get some free reports and that free e-letter.
Yeah, I just wanted to get that out there because some of the people in the audience will go, well, he's just selling his book. Well, no, you're not selling your book. That's just the reality of the world that we live in. That
Mm-hmm.
that the only insurance that we have against what's happening right now with these so-called monetary policies, as you said, globally, is gold and silver, and that's it. That's all that we've got. I mean, in my opinion, that's what my research shows.
Yeah,
And
that's true. And there's so many different ways to invest in it. And one of the things that people will get for subscribing to our free e-letter is our free report, Investor's Guide on Gold and Silver, that describes all the best ways to buy it, from physical through ETFs or stocks, etc.
okay,
And it's completely objective. I even my so-called competitors in the industry are good friends of mine, and I tell in that report I reveal who the best are at what they do.
sounds great. One last question, then I'll let you get back to your afternoon. And aside from being a success in business, what motivates you to continue doing what you're doing?
Oh, that's an interesting question, Rory. I guess as it is with most people, just trying to build a solid financial and healthy and spiritual future for my family.
I like it, and that's it. That's what I want to hear, because It's a highly personal question, and I like asking it because it's unexpected and it
Right
only
out of left field.
has to do with Brien.
Right.
Well, we've been speaking with Mr. Brien Lundin, who is the director and chairman of Natcor Solar, Natcor Technology, and he's the director and producer of the New Orleans Investment Conference, held annually for the past 41 years. And Brien, is there anything you'd like to leave the audience with?
No, I think we pretty much covered it all. But thank you, Rory. It's been a great pleasure to be with you as always.
Well, I certainly appreciate it, and I hope we can do this again in the not too distant future.
Anytime.
All right, thank you so much. All right. Well, that wasn't too painful, was it?